Howdy everyone, it's Sam. Welcome back to the Wobble Enjoy Sports channel. If you're new around here, hope I can get you to consider liking the content and subscribing to the channel. But if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. Special episode of the Ace High Tips show right now. I'm going to include both State of Origin matches that are happening this week, including round 14 of the 2023 NRL season. I only got two right last weekend, but two more games with State of Origin involved this week. Let's hope for a better result. Let's get stuck into the tips. And just quietly and just quickly, all of this, most of everybody's tips online is all powered through the rugbyleagueproject.org. Link in the comments section below. State of Origin game number one emanates from Adelaide Oval. It is the second time Adelaide has hosted State of Origin, the first being game in one of 2020, and game number one 2023 kicks off on Wednesday night. And Queensland, the home side in this one, come into the contest as $2.05 outsiders. They have come in a little bit over the past couple of days, whereas New South Wales are $1.80 favourites. The line is at $1.50. There is only one debutant for the Maroons. There are three for the New South Wales Blues. Let's immediately get into the team lineups, starting with the home side. In at fullback is Reece Walsh. Selwyn Cobbo, Murray Taulagi are the wingers. Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow and Valentine Holmes are the centres. DCE and Munster are the halves pairing. In the forward pack, Flegler, Collins and Ben Hunt start in the front row, whereas the back row is for Fifita, Gilbert and Patrick Carrigan. The interchange is Grant, Suamala-Aui, Cotter and Jai Arrow, with Tom Dearden and Christian Welch 18 and 19th man. Going into the New South Wales Blues team lineup, and just quietly over the past week or so, I reckon there's been a little bit more drama, a little bit more hairy stuff going on in the New South Wales Blues camp in comparison to Queensland Maroons, who are doing things a little bit more quietly than the New South Wales side are. In at fullback and captain is James Tedesco. The wingers are Brian To'o and returning into the Origin arena, Josh Adokar. The centres was supposed to be Latrell Mitchell and Tom Trbojevic, but Mitchell has sustained a calf injury. Therefore, Stephen Crichton is going to be replacing him. Not Campbell Graham, isn't he? Once again, an interesting story. The halves pairing will be Luai and Nathan Cleary. The forward pack debuting Tavita Pengai Jr. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch on Wednesday night, I reckon. Api Coruscant is the hooker. Payne Haas is the other front rower. The back row is Tyson Frizzell, who returns to the Origin arena. Hudson Young makes his debut in Origin, and Isaiah Yeo, arguably or probably actually the best lock in the competition today. And the interchange for New South Wales reads Paulo, Murray, Martin, and a debuting Nico Hines in jersey 17. And at the moment, I think it's Blake Brayley, who is 18th man, and Stefano Uto-Ikamanu is jersey number 19. Tyson Frizzell, this is his first game in State of Origin since game 3 of 2020. The likes of Tom Flegler, David Fifita, Tom Trbojevic and Josh Adokar. This is their first series after missing out last year. And so they returned to the Origin arena for the first time since 2021, whether it be game 2 or game 3. It has been a year or so since they last played in Origin. This will be the 127th meeting between the Blues and the Maroons. And right now it is 67 to 57 with 2 draws, and it's Queensland that has the lead. But remarkably, Queensland and New South Wales for and against, there's not much. There is a single converted try in all of the State of Origin history. There's only a single converted try that separates them on for and against. That is remarkable. That is incredible. A stat to look out for, something to look out for in this game. 8 games in a row now since game 1 of 2020, which was at Adelaide Oval. The winner at halftime, the leader at halftime for the past 8 games in a row since game 1 of 2020 has gone on to win this match. So the leader at halftime in tomorrow night's State of Origin contest, by that stat, that's going to go a hell of a long way in deciding who is going to win this contest. There has been another positional change, not just Stephen Crichton coming in for Latrell Mitchell. It has been reported just this morning that Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow and Valentine Holmes are going to swap edges. So I believe Holmes it is that is going to go to the right-hand side, and Hammer is going to go on the left-hand side. But in any event, it is going to be Holmes versus Stephen Crichton tomorrow night, and it's going to be Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow versus Tommy Turbo on the other side of the paddock. And if you recall in 2021, where Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow made his Origin debut, not only did he score a try in his debut contest, he also gave Tom Turbo half a bath that night. So that's going to be really interesting to see. And if I am correct, I really hope I'm correct, so apologies if I'm not, but I think it's Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow and Murray Taulagi versus Turbo and Brian To'o. And then on the other side of the paddock, Holmes and Selwyn Cobbo will take on Stephen Crichton and Josh Adokar. So that is going to be the wing center combination battles to look forward to on Wednesday night. Again, the debutantes, Reece Walsh in at fullback in preference for Kalyn Ponga. I thought Kalyn Ponga was going to get it, honestly, but you know what? Hindsight's a wonderful thing. I think Reece Walsh has absolutely been the most informed fullback for Queensland all season long, and arguably of the competition as well. And for the New South Wales debutants, Hudson Young, Nicho Hynes, Tevita Pangai Jr. is a strange one, but again, I'm looking forward to seeing how he plays. I hope he is obviously going to play with a bit of red mist, but how far beyond the line is he going to take it? Hopefully not too far beyond the line. I really hope he does have a good game this weekend. Looking back to the game that happened last year or the series that happened between New South Wales and Queensland, both games that Queensland won, Queensland missed at least 10 more tackles. Look at game 3, for instance. Queensland missed 57 tackles in game 3 last year and still won 22 points to 12 with that famous intercept try by Ben Hunt. They also kicked at least 200 metres more in both of their wins against New South Wales last year and completed better. For example, in game 3 last year of Origin, New South Wales only completed at 73%. That's obviously not good enough if you want to win. State of Origin. So their game plan obviously was on show for everybody to see. They absolutely suffocated Nathan Cleary's kicking game. It showed in the kicking meters for Queensland, but they just weren't as crisp. They weren't as dynamic in attack for 2 games. Obviously, one of the big stats and one of the big factors last year was Jake Trbojevic. He returned in game number 2 and he just provided that mongrel, that absolute brick wall defense. And he is obviously not playing in this game. So they're looking at Payne Haas and Tevita Pangai Jr., Hudson Young, not to be, well, I mean, they are looking for some concrete in that defensive wall, but they're looking for some crazy plays. They're looking to really get under the skin of the Queensland Maroons tomorrow night. I personally don't have a flag on either side of the fence, to be honest with you. State of Origin usually produces 1 or 2 games, the best games of rugby league all season long, but I don't have a flag on either side of the fence. So I'm just really looking forward to this contest, and I can't help but think back to when they last played at Adelaide Oval and the performance that Cameron Munster put in. Cameron Munster put in one of the greatest individual performances I have ever seen. It was just absolutely incredible, and he does return to the scene of the crime this Wednesday night. Reportedly, it's not going to be completely sold out, but it's going to be about 90% or thereabouts. So hopefully they can sell the remaining tickets and make it a pure sellout. Yeah, really difficult game to pick. But I am actually going to go with the Maroons. I'm actually going to take the value at $2.05, and I'm going to take Queensland to beat New South Wales tomorrow night down in Adelaide Oval. I just think they're a little bit more settled, and I think Patrick Carrigan is going to have a monstrous contest, and I think watch David Fafita as well. I think he actually might provide a hell of a moment tomorrow night. So I'm going to go Queensland to kickstart the Origin series with a victory over New South Wales. A scoreline, maybe 20 points to 16. On Thursday night from CommBank Stadium for the first time ever, there is going to be two Women's State of Origin contests, and it is going to potentially be decided on aggregate. On tab.com.au, the New South Wales Blues are coming into the game as $1.42 favourites. Queensland are $2.90 outsiders. That's pretty massive on Queensland. Let's get stuck straight into the team lists. In at fullback for New South Wales, Emma Tonegado. The wingers, Jamie Chapman, Tiana Penitani. The centres, Surgis, and captain, Isabel Kelly. The halves pairing, Jessie Southwell and Rachel Pearson. The forward pack, Kezi Apps, Millie Boyle, and Keely Davis is the hooker. The back row, Olivia Kernick, Yasmin Clydesdale, and Kennedy Cherrington in the lock position. The interchange, Talia Fuimaono, Sarah Takatuki, Brooke Anderson, and Shaylee Bent. The reserves for New South Wales are Ellie Johnston and Quincy Dodd. Shifting over now to the Queensland side, in at fullback is Tamika Upton. Julia Robinson and Emily Bass are the wingers. Shanae Suzolka and Ivania Politi are the centres. The halves pairing is Taryn Aiken and Zahara Tamara. The forward pack reads Shannon Mato, Carly Joseph, and Destiny Brill in at the hooker position, and the back row features Tasman Gray, Shania Power, and Ali Brigginshaw reverting from the half back to the lock position, but she has played lock before in State of Origin. The interchange reads Emma Manselman, Jessica Elliston, Sophie Holloman, and Romy Teitzel, and the reserves read China Palata and Mackenzie Wheel. 1999 was the first Queensland Women's versus New South Wales Women's clash, not officially dubbed State of Origin, and Queensland dominated. They won 18 games in a row, man. They won 18 games in a row all the way up until 2014. And then New South Wales finally broke through for their first victory over the Queensland women's side in 2016. The first ever official State of Origin game was in 2018, played at North Sydney Oval. And since then, it's 3-2 in favour of New South Wales, but the Queensland side know that they've absolutely held the dominance. This is the first match to take place in Sydney as a New South Wales Sky Blues home game since 2019, where it was at North Sydney Oval for a couple of years, and then things had to change. Obviously, it's in the interest of fairness, and obviously because of the pandemic that happened in 2020/2021. There again are 4 debutantes each for both sides, and they are Jamie Chapman, Fuama Ono, Anderson, and Jessie Southwell in the halfback position, and Queensland side, Joseph Mantelman, Teitzel, and Hollyman. I'm looking at the Queensland side again. I'm not being biased, like I know I live in Queensland, but I honest to goodness don't have a flag on either side of the fence. But I saw a lot of Zahara Tamara in the Queensland Cup this season, and she carried her team all the way to the premiership this season. She was extraordinary in the halfback position. And Jessie Southwell, she missed the first 2 games of her season in the New South Wales Cup, and then she returned, and the Newcastle Knights went and had a pretty decent season after the Knights. I think they dropped the first 2 games, and then Jessie Southwell returned and then absolutely blitzed it. But there is a bit of controversy. Well, controversy may be too big a word, but you look at the Queensland side and the likes of Chelsea Leonard-Darcy and Talisha Harden, Brittany Brearley Nati, Queensland legends, and the coach Tane Norris just has chosen to go for a little bit more youth in the legs. But Chelsea Lenarduzzi again won the Queensland Cup this season with the Burleigh Bears, along with Sahara Tamara. So Lenarduzzi can definitely feel hard done by, but there is another game to go. And for the first time, I think in my lifetime, when it comes to rugby league aggregate scores, that's happening with the New South Wales Blues, Sky Blues, and the Queensland Maroons in the Women's State of Origin. So there's two games, and it will be decided on aggregate potentially if New South Wales win game number one and Queensland win game number two. It's going to come down to the halves for me. A lot of the stats sort of mirror what happened last year. The Queensland side missed at least 10 more tackles than the Sky Blues did, and it was a high quality game down in Canberra. I went to that contest and I just saw a couple of highlights again just to remember what happened, and she whizzed. It was a fantastic contest. Both sides completing at 85%, better than a couple of the men's State of Origin games from last season. So I am going to tip Queensland. I know that the girls are at CommBank Stadium. It's their first home game in, since 2019. There's a lot to play for, but I think I look at Rachel Pearson and Jessie Southwell, who are fantastic players, and then I look at the other side, and there's just a little bit more experience in that halves combination with Taryn Aiken and Zahara Tamara as well. And while Emma Tonegado can kill it in a blink of an eye, so too can Tamika Upton. I'm genuinely going to tip Queensland in that game. So I think it's going to be a very happy time for the Sunshine State come the weekend. There is no Thursday night footy, and the first game to kick off round 14 starts on Friday night football in the prime time slot, with kickoff being 8 p.m. The West Tigers host the Canberra Raiders at Campbelltown Stadium, and the Tigers are coming into the game $2.10 outsiders, whereas the Raiders are coming into the contest as $1.74 favourites, and the line is just 2.5. Going straight into the team list first for the West Tigers, Dream Buller is the fullback, Norfoluma and Tupou are the wingers, Toa and Talau are the centres. The halves pairing is Wakeham and Brooks. Uto Ikamanu has been named, and I don't think, unless if something gnarly happens on State of Origin night, he will not participate. So Uto Ikamanu has been named. Coruscant as well has been named. I don't know about that, if he can get from Adelaide to Sydney and be right as rain come Friday night kickoff. David Clemmer is also the other front rower, with Papali'i, Bateman and Fanor Pole as the back row. Then the interchange reads Simpkin, Seifarth, Twal and Asu Kapoa. So looking at the reserves, which will be important, Brent Naden has been named in jersey number 18. Dane Laurie is in jersey number 20, and Justin Matamua in jersey 21. So if Api Coruscant does not back up on Friday night, you imagine Jake Simpkin will start in jersey number 9, and then Dane Laurie at a pinch will probably come back in for his first game since. So Sebastian Kris has been named. He has been named in fullback. That's surprising. But we move on. So Nick Chotrich and Jordan Rapiner are the wingers. Albert Hopewadi and Matt Timoko are the centres. So Hopewadi comes in from the wing to play in the centre position. The halves pairing is Whiten and Fogarty, Papali, Pasami Solo and Zach Wolford, the front row. The back row is Hudson Young, Corey Horsburgh and Joseph Tarpanay. Corey Horsburgh, holy crap, what a freaking game he had. And it'll be interesting to see if Hudson Young does back up in jersey 11. The interchange reads Starling, Gula, Matt Frawley in jersey number 16, and Atta Mariota in jersey 17. So looking at the reserves, you've got Hohepa Puru, Danny Levi, Xavier Savage, Peter Holler as well. So yeah, definitely the big one that sticks out is Hudson Young. We'll see whether or not he does back up on Friday Night Football. If he doesn't, who does go into the second row, I wonder? You might, I don't know, there could be, I don't know, that's a really tough one, actually. I don't know who would actually fit into that second row. They're a bit low or a bit light on second rowers. All of a sudden, the Canberra Raiders with Elliot Whitehead succumbing to an injury, and Hudson Young may just not be able to back up because he may go absolutely skits on Wednesday night. Canberra Raiders, they have dominated the West Tigers over the years, man. And just before I quickly go on, Matt Timoko due to play his 50th first grade this weekend on Friday night. So there is a milestone game happening on Friday night at Campbelltown Sports Stadium after all. So this is the battle of the two of the best five offloaders in the NRL. I think the Tigers sit at about second, the Raiders fourth, but these two teams are inside the best five clubs who do offload the ball. So that I think, unless if it's bucketing down with rain, we could see some pretty cool footy on Friday night. Canberra are on a 5-game winning streak against the West Tigers. They have won 9 of the past 10 encounters between them since 2016. The West Tigers last beat Canberra in 2018, full stop. But the last time that they beat Canberra at Campbelltown Stadium was in 2014. The Raiders absolutely have dominated the West Tigers since about 2014. And it's funny because about that time in 2014, it was actually the Tigers who were the hoodoo team of the Canberra Raiders, but that's changed dramatically. Only once have the West Tigers restricted Canberra to under 20 points in the past 10 encounters. And even in that game, they lost that contest. Really difficult game because the Tigers are coming off the bye. The Raiders, don't know, are they going to be a little bit shell-shocked from what happened to them the other night? Probably not, because, I mean, they were down and then they were up and then they were down again. Then they got themselves back into a good frame of mind and ran away with the contest in the end. I am going to tip the Raiders, but not with a lot of confidence. This Tigers side is going to, please excuse the pun, but they're going to come out roaring on Friday night after having a bye, after they absolutely destroyed North Queensland at Leichhardt Oval 2 weeks ago. I think they're in for a big one, but if Api Koroisau doesn't back up, and I just got a feeling that he won't, I definitely will feel more confident in the Raiders winning this one. But if Api does play in this game, this is going to be a real tight one, but I am going to go the Raiders to win this one, 1-12. Super Saturday features 2 contests, and game number 1 is, I don't want to call it that. Is it seriously what it's going to be known now forever? Surely, game number 1 on Super Saturday emanates from Go Media Stadium at Mount Smart. The New Zealand Warriors host the Dolphins, and on tab.com.au, the Warriors are $1.53 favourites. The Dolphins are $2.50. This is the first ever meeting between the Warriors and Dolphins, and I don't think this is the game of the round, but it's probably the second best. This is going to be a belter. So these two sides do complete their sets, and I think these two sides have sort of played similarly actually over the first half of the season, and now they finally meet. And the Warriors are going to be wearing their black heritage jersey from 2003. The Dolphins probably will be get up in their all red outfit, red and gold outfit as well. So this is going to be a great game. Now I think I'm calling this one with the hold the ball. So just keep an eye out for that one. Going into the team list now, CNK is the fullback, DWZ and Montoya are the wingers, Berry and Pompey are the centres. Pompey holding on by the skin of his teeth there. The centres, Luke Metcalf and Sean Johnson, Fanua Blake, Bunty Afoa and Wade Egan in the front row. Didn't they miss Wade Egan last weekend in their loss to the Brisbane Broncos? The back row is Ford, Niokore and Tohu Harris. The interchange is Dylan Walker, Curran. Mitch Barnett returns. That's a fantastic inclusion. And Bailey Sirinen. The reserves, Tom Arley is in jersey number 18 and Ronald Volkman is in there at jersey number 22. I think maybe Tom Arley could maybe feel a little bit hard done by. I know he dropped the ball after scoring a try or his team scored a try and then he dropped the ball. But yeah, maybe Tom Arley could feel a little bit hard done by. I guess maybe I'd probably swap him for Bailey Sirinen. While it's not full strength, that's a lot stronger. That's as strong as you've seen the Warriors so far in 2023, isn't it? That's a much better looking squad. So let's shift over now to the Redcliffe Dolphins, and at fullback is Cody Nikorima. So Hamaso Tabuai Fidow, just very quickly, will not be named, has not been named to back up. So it will just be chilling. I think that's fair enough. Playing at Adelaide on the Wednesday to then try and get to New Zealand and back up on the Saturday, I think that's fair enough. So Nikorima in at fullback, Isako and Nu are the wingers, Aiken and Lee the centres, Milford and Katoa the halves pairing. Milford won and backed the friggin' clock last Thursday night. The forward pack, Bromwich, Herman Siasa and Jane Kay. The back row is Kenny Bromwich, Connolly Lemuelu and Ray Stone. So Tom Gilbert as well has not been named. Interchange reads Jared Wallace, Mark Nichols, Mason Teague and Valence Tavare. And the reserves, you've got Harrison Graham there and Oliver Gildart as well. So I think that's great to see Harrison Graham as well on the reserves list. Really difficult game to pick, but I'm going to stay away from the temptation of value because $2.50 plus on Dolphins is pretty bloody good. But I think they've got some great inclusions back in their side. They're going to be emotional because of the return of Mitch Barnett, in my opinion. And I think that the Warriors can get the job done against the Dolphins, but it's going to be a friggin' cracker, just quietly. So Warriors to win this one, 1-12. The second game on Super Saturday is from SEPA Super Stadium. For the first time in over a month, man, the Titans have had a pure home game. Only won 6, and they have not defeated South Sydney in the Gold Coast since 2009. It is easily their worst record against anybody else in the NRL. So going into tab.com.au to have a look at the odds, Gold Coast are $2.90 outsiders. The Rabbitohs are $1.42 favourites. Going into the team list for the Titans now, in at fullback is Keano Guinea. All right, Khan Pereira and Jojo Fafita are the wingers. Philip Sami and Aaron Schupp are the centres. Jaden Campbell and Tanner Boyd are the halves pairing. So Kieran Foran is out with injury. Bugger. The forward pack reads Fodawaker, Chris Randall and Fa'asuamala Aui. David Fafita, Stimson and Liu are the back row. Again, remains to be seen if Fa'asuamala Aui and Fafita back up from Origin. Interchanges. Sam Verrills makes a return in jersey 14. That's massive. That's a big one for the Titans. Aaron Clark, Khaleesi Haas, and Isaac Fa'asuamala Aui is in there as well. Brian Kelly's floating around in jersey 19 and Jamin Jolliffe as well in jersey 20. They've got a few handy players sitting on the reserves, so I think they might look pretty different come kickoff on Saturday at 5:30 p.m. And going to the South Sydney Rabbitohs, Taff has been named at fullback. Obviously, Latrell Mitchell doing his calf. Alex Johnston and Richie Kenner. So Tane Milne's not playing in this game. I don't know why, actually. So the centres, Tass and Campbell Graham. The halves pairing, Walker and Ilias. Forward pack is unchanged. The 8-13 is unchanged. Interchange reads Jai Arrow, so so he probably definitely will play if he's been named to start off the bench. 15 is Cheekam, Shaq Mitchell, and Daniel Saluka Fafita. So Tane Milne is in jersey 18, Jed Cartwright in jersey 19 as well. Look, I just got to put in a couple of jabs towards the Gold Coast Titans, and everyone says that they've got a top 8 forward pack, and you've got Fafita and Fa'asuamala Aui in there. Gold Coast Titans are the worst club at the moment in the NRL for post-contact meters. They're the only team, I think, in the 400s at the moment, but they're not going well. Their forward pack is getting dominated by and large in 2023, and that's rather surprising that they're all the way down there for post-contact meters, because you've got the likes of Fafita and Big Tino, Fodawaker, and even Aaron Clark at a pinch as well. Also, they are the worst team at the moment for ineffective tackles. So if South Sydney can get real quick play the balls, and we all know how quick and great South Sydney's attack can be, it's going to be really difficult for the Titans to contain them. The past 5 matches in a row, South Sydney have scored at least 28 points, between 28 and 40 for 5 games in a row, at least 28 points. And the Titans defense, man, again, I know Kieran Foran and AJ Brimson are out, but and look, it remains to be seen even if Big Tino and Big Dave Fafita does return and play. But I'm sorry, Gold Coast Titans fans, I'm going to take the South Sydney Rabbitohs 13 plus. And the main event on Super Saturday and the main event of the entire weekend emanates from Shark Park. The Cronulla Sutherland Sharks host the Brisbane Broncos in the 60-second meeting between the two clubs. The record is in favour of the Broncos, 39 wins and 22 losses. And on tab.com.au, the Sharks are $1.60 favourites. The Broncos are $2.35 outsiders. This game is going to be wild, man, and I really hope it's full strength teams coming up against each other, but I don't think that's going to be the case. But let's go into how the team list line up. And at fullback, well, the 1 to 7 for the Sharks is as per program, and then the forward pack is Kofusi, Brayley and Hunt. The back row is Nikora, Wilton and Dale Finucane. Interchange reads Graham, Williams, Hazelton, and Braden Hamlin-Uele, and Connor Tracy, Jaden Beryl, and Braden Trindle are floating about on the reserves list. Going into the Broncos now, Reece Walsh, if he does play, and he has been named, if he does play, it will be his 50th first grade game in the National Rugby League, so kudos to him. The wingers, the same as last week. Ezra Mam in there at the 5'8". Adam Reynolds, it's pretty much unchanged. I mean, sorry, Selwyn Cobbo has been named as well. Forward pack, Flegler's been named. Payne Haas, it's full strength named for the forward pack. Interchange reads Pakes, Jensen, Hetherington, and Marty Topou. And they've got a hell of a lot of reserves, as you would probably anticipate as well, do the Brisbane Broncos. Brisbane last played at Shark Park in 2019. They won that game. The last time that Cronulla beat Brisbane on home soil was in 2016. So Sharks beat Broncos this weekend. Sharks win the premiership for 2023. The past 5 results between the Sharks and Broncos have been decided in between the 1 to 12 range, and I think this is going to be yet another close contest as well. Just want to make a couple of mentions of a couple of different players. Sifa Talakai has been missing for at least a fortnight or 3 weeks now, and he is still coming into this weekend in the top 5 for try assists and line break assists. So he has been going well under the radar this year for people who don't support the Sharks, I guess, like myself. That's crazy to me, man, that Talakai is inside the top 5 and technically equals second for try assists. And he's been missing at least a fortnight of footy, not including the bye. So that's crazy to me, bro. Also, William Kennedy, second for kick return meters, and it's not Dylan Edwards that's in the lead for that stat. So William Kennedy really is having a really good year in at fullback. But with Adam Reynolds and Ezra Mam, and seeing what Adam Reynolds did against the Warriors this past weekend, Reynolds versus Kennedy is a battle to look forward to this weekend. I'm going to really keep an eye out on how William Kennedy will position himself for when he anticipates the kick being put in by Adam Reynolds, because Adam Reynolds was exceptional against the New Zealand Warriors on Saturday. And just a couple of missed tackle stats as well. Kurt Capewell and Ezra Mam, even though Ezra Mam put in a great try-saving effort, I think he's put in multiple try-saving efforts this year that have been fantastic. Kurt Capewell and Ezra Mam sit inside the bottom 5 players of the NRL for missed tackles. And so Capewell, he's going to be pretty much coming up against Talakai this weekend. Maybe Talakai actually scores instead of setting up a try for either Hines or Mulatalo. And then Ezra Mann, you'd probably imagine that Jesse Ramian will be running a massive straight line towards Ezra Mann this weekend. So just maybe a couple of try scorers there. Ramian and Talakai are either centre for the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. I don't know with Payne Haas. I don't know what my sixth sense is telling me about Payne Haas and Tom Flegler, Reece Walsh, or potentially backing up Selwyn Coppo as well. But they've had the bye now, the Sharks, and they had a bye early this season. They defeated the Roosters. I know the Broncos are here and the Roosters are there, but I'm going to tip the Cronulla Sharks to come off their bye, and I think they can win, but it will be close. I think this is going to be another close game between the Sharks and Broncos, and Cronulla will win this game 1-12. On Sunday, there are three contests, and game number one for the first time this year is from Central Coast Stadium. The Sydney Roosters will host the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, and the Roosters are $1.32 favourites. The Bulldogs are $3.40 outsiders, and the line for those who want to know is 10.5. The team list for the Roosters is Tedesco has been named. We'll see what happens. Corey Allen and Junior Pauga has been named on the wing. Suali'i and Billy Smith in the centres. Manu and Kiri in the halves. So Joey Manu does return this weekend. That's a massive in. Jarawee Hargreaves also returns. Jake Turpin in the 9 position because Brandon Smith is out with a busted thumb or hand injury. And Lindsay Collins has also been named to back up. The Butcher brothers take up the second row positions, and Tupanua is in the lock position. Hutchison, Nathan Brown, Angus Crichton, and Matthew Lodge make up the interchange bench. And Daniel Tupou has been named as 18th man on the reserves list for the Sydney Roosters. Shifting over to the Bulldogs now. And they're pretty much, besides Blake Wilson and Josh Adokar. So Josh Adokar will not play this weekend after he plays in State of Origin. But Blake Wilson, who had a fantastic debut against the New Zealand Warriors about 3 or 4 weeks ago now, will play in jersey number 5. Carl Oluwapu and Matt Burton are the halves pairing. The forward pack the front row is just per the program, King, Marnie and Sutton. And then Ockenbaugh, Preston and Waddell is the back row. The interchange reads Josh Reynolds, Moran, Samuel Hughes, and Harrison Edwards. And just looking at the reserves list, Josh Adokar has been named on the reserves, and so too has Kyle Flanagan and Tafita Pangai Jr. So obviously Cameron Ciraldo just erring on the side of caution there. And if they're available, they'll probably get swapped out or swapped in for, I should say. This is the 179th meeting between the Roosters and the Bulldogs, and the Roosters have a 92 win to 81 lead. So 92 wins for the Roosters, 92 wins for the Roosters, 81 for the Bulldogs, and 5 draws thrown in there. This is the first time ever that these two sides have fought at Central Coast Stadium, and this is Canterbury Bulldogs' first match at Gosford since round 3 of 2020, but they lost that day. So Canterbury's record since 2013 at Central Coast Stadium reads 2 wins and 2 losses, and they haven't won at the venue since 2015. So it is a rare trip to Gosford, to the Central Coast, for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. And Canterbury, they got their first win against the Roosters in 8 or 10 attempts last year against the Roosters. So, yeah, I think the Bulldogs will probably make it scary for them for a half a footy, but I think the Roosters should just have way too much class and way too much energy in the petrol tanks. And I think the Roosters can win this one 13 plus. They're bloody better anyway. And the free to air for all to see game on Sunday afternoon is from Queensland Country Bank Stadium, where we see North Queensland Cowboys take on the Melbourne Storm. And the Cowboys on tab.com.au are $2.70 outsiders. The Storm are $1.47 favourites. And I know that I was talking some smack about the Titans and South Sydney Rabbitohs and how the history is lopsided between those two. Well, Cowboys got their first win against the Storm last year since 2015, and that's all I need to go on about the history between the two clubs. That's it. There's nothing else that's happened, especially something that happened in 2017. Scott Drinkwater, Kyle Felt, Zach Laybutt Peta Hiku, and Semi Valame is the backline with Tom Dearden and Chad Townsend being named. So he's just said, Taulagi and Holmes, we won't name you. All right then. Sammy Valame, that makes him Cowboy 312, and he's come up from the Canberra Raiders. That's fantastic. And Zach Labart, really cool. Really cool debut last week, and same with Robert Derby. Maybe Robert Derby or Robert Darby can consider himself a bit unlucky that he hasn't got a recall to play this Sunday, but Semi Valame does bring about 30 odd first grade games of experience under his belt. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes partnering up with Zach Labart this weekend. The forward pack reads McLean, Robson, and Hess. The back row is Leilua, Lukey, and Jake Granville. The interchange bench is Gajewski. Jeremiah Nene returns to first grade after copying a 4-week suspension. Tanoa Brown and Griffin Neen make up the bench. And I'm looking at the reserves list now, and Jason Taumalolo has been named in jersey 20, and all the other Origin players have been named on the reserves list as well. So Jason Taumalolo still just needs to do a little bit more work, a little bit more convincing before he is given the green light to return. Looking at the Melbourne Storm now, Nick Meaney is at fullback, Coates, Warbrick, Smith, Olam, Munster, and Hughes. So Munster has been named. The forward pack is pretty much their starting forward pack. So everyone's been named, including Christian Walsh, but he's been named as 19th man for Queensland. And the interchange bench reads Garlic, Pene, Kamikamitha, and Grant Anderson. And just looking further into the reserves, you've got Tarek Sims there. That's been named in jersey number 21. Cowboys 13 plus. And the final game of the weekend is from Bluebet Stadium. The Penrith Panthers host the St. George Illawarra Dragons. On tab, Penrith are $1.18. The Dragons are $4.80. This is the first trip to the foot of the mountains for the St. George Illawarra Dragons since 2019. They unfortunately lost on that account. They have not defeated Penrith. They have not defeated Penrith at Penrith since 2017. They got the double victory against Penrith in 2017, but since then, Penrith have dominated this fixture. However, the overall head-to-head between these two clubs is 20 wins to the Dragons, 17 wins to the Penrith Panthers, and this will be the 38th meeting between the two clubs. So the Dragons do have the overall record, but it's been dominated by the Panthers since 2018. Going into the Penrith Panthers lineup, from 1 down to 7, it's pretty much business as usual. Dylan Edwards is there. Nathan Cleary and Luai have been named. Touch wood that nothing happens to them on Origin. And then you look at the forward pack. That's their full strength forward pack they've named. The interchange bench reads Luke, Smith, Martin, and Salmon. Isaac Tungo. Ooh, that could be a very, very timely return, a quicker return than anticipated. I think that Isaac Tungo and Spencer Leniu have both been named in jersey 23 and 24 on the reserves list. So keep an eye out for that one if Tungo and Spencer Leniu can return this weekend. And then going into the St. George Illawarra Dragons team list now, 1 through till 7 is their full strength, including Ben Hunt. And then the forward pack reads Molo, Little, and Molo, Burns, Sewer, and Jack de Belin. I'm surprised Jack de Belin didn't get suspended just quietly after he did a cannonball tackle on a couple of different players against the Dolphins last weekend. And then the interchange reads Sullivan, Murdoch Masilla, Jaden Hunt, and Josh Kerr. And Jack Bird is not going to play in this game. So Jack Bird is out. Moses Mbai is 18th man. And Toby Couchman as well has also dropped down onto the reserves list. Penrith Panthers 13 plus. Alrighty, that is this week's Rugby League report. I'm Wobble and Jaw Sports signing out. I hope your team wins this weekend, except the Melbourne Storm. And I'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care. Adios.